Hello and welcome to Game Changing with me, Tim Thornton.
And me, Chris Sheldon.
In this podcast, we chat to various luminaries from the music world who we've met along the way.
About those key moments in their careers where the stars aligned and it all started to go right.
On this episode of the podcast, I'm going to be talking to one of my favourite bands of the last 10 years. This is The Kit, who are led by Kate Stables, and along for the ride is her bass player Rozi Plain, who's also a solo artist in her own right. I sat down with Kate and Rozi in the summer of 2019 in a very noisy rehearsal studio, so I apologise for it sounding like you're literally suspended over King's Cross Station as the trains arrive. Lots of bangs and crashes on this. I hope I managed to edit most of them out. But we had a jolly good chat about This is The Kit's career so far. They do a lovely line in very nice, chilled, multi-influenced music, powered along by some gorgeous electric guitar and nice rhythms. So I'd recommend any of their albums so far, especially Wriggle Out the Restless. But let's have a listen to the interview. I hope you enjoy it.
And it's 3 times through the spinney, and it's footprints in the snow. You've been mixing up some mischief, you've been weaving up some woe. So we both begin to fidget, and we both begin to twitch, and so wriggle out the restless, and yes, scratch it at the edge. Ooh.
Yes, you can hear them. Bag rummage, yeah. So, no, not at all.
I was just to prove that it was on airplane, and it was. It was quite like.
Cool.
Rozi, could you pass me my airplane mode phone, and then I can refresh my mind of the thoughts I've had.
Thoughts, yes.
They'll be totally redundant and different today.
Okay.
But anyway.
Rozi, you've played with Kate for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So since, 2012 or earlier than that?
Well, I feel like it started around the time that Wriggle Out the Restless came out.
Yeah.
You were involved in the recording of that. I feel like you'd probably started playing in the band on a regular basis before that.
Right.
Which is 2010 or maybe even 9?
Yeah.
But you weren't on, how do you pronounce the name of the first album?
Krullerball is what I call it.
Krullerball.
But I'm sure someone who spoke good Flemish would pronounce it better, yeah.
What does it mean?
Curly ball. But it's sort of a nickname for someone who's got curly hair.
Oh, so it's ball. It's not, I thought it was B-O-I.
Boy.
I thought it was like, the Avril Lavigne song, Skater Boy.
Oh no, it's not, unfortunately. Did she spell that with an I?
Yeah. Unexpected reference to Avril Lavigne in This is The Kit interview. Yeah, so that's what I thought it was. I was expecting you to say Cruel Boy.
Oh no, it's like, I call it Krullerball.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah.
Cruel boy.
Right, exactly, yeah. So Glastonbury, that was fun, was it?
Yeah, it's funny because I was about to say there's a game changer, but I also feel like maybe it isn't a game changer, it's just a sort of milestone.
Right.
Like a horizon changer.
Okay. Had you not done it before?
Not West Holts.
Oh, okay, because that's you're with
the
big children now.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, we've done other stages, we've done Williams Green, and that was the biggest stage we've ever done at Glastonbury.
And it sounded good. I didn't see it.
Me neither,
Really? You haven't seen it? Okay.
I don't know if I will.
I've just written a couple of things. I wrote Neil had a shocker.
We did. Neil had a few shockers, that being one of them. And
nice thing to do while tuning, I thought. Put one hand in the air and put another hand in the air.
I can never resist. I mean, I don't know. I feel like when I'm in the audience, it feels amazing all doing something together. And when I'm not, and when I'm in whatever the opposite of the audience is, it feels amazing getting people to do it. Can't resist.
Oh, that's great. While we're on the subject of Glasto,
yes.
So do you feel like, it's a bit early to tell, but do you feel like anything has kind of changed in any regard from having done it?
I think maybe I'm a bit less daunted by the idea of doing it again.
Do you do similar sized stages in other festivals?
I feel like we have done. Boston Calling was a bit like that, wasn't it? Yeah, but mostly not though.
Uh-huh.
I don't feel like it's normal for us to do a stage that big.
Right.
If we do, there's normally just sort of 2 rows of people at the fence, you know.
Because it's odd, isn't it? Because the one thing about you guys, which I think is quite interesting, is that people might term you as an acoustic band.
Yes, genre-wise.
But actually, you're not. You're one thing that kind of I'm going to sound like a music journalist when I say this, but one thing that sort of throbs through your albums is this love of really nice, well-recorded, slightly overdriven electric guitar. It's in everything, and it's brilliant. No, but it's really, and it's so nice to not see constant strapping on of acoustic guitars. You know?
Kind of. I mean, but at the same time, it's nice if that's what people want to play. But it is funny because as a performing person, I've almost never played an acoustic guitar, other than maybe at an open mic night when that's what the guitar was there to borrow and use. But for gigs, I think ever since the first time I ever heard or saw Billy Bragg play, I just thought, yes, singing songs with an electric guitar, you don't need a band, you don't need to have an acoustic guitar because you haven't got a band. It just felt so sort of punk in the right way. But because I'm a female and because I'm not shouting, everyone hears and hallucinates an acoustic guitar over everything I do.
Right. So why don't we? My speciality as an interviewer is ignoring the questions.
Yeah,
so
me too.
So, how did it all begin? Just briefly.
So it probably began with me and Rozi singing Sunhouse songs as teenagers, going to Rozi's brother's open mic night.
And where was that? Was that
in Winchester? And at a place called the Railway Inn. Monday nights, go and sing some songs, and then you get brave enough to start writing songs and start playing them, and then like local promoters will say, do you want to open for this act that are kind of passing through? And you do. Then you start getting asked to do gigs out of town.
So it's quite organic. Was there any moment where you thought, right,
come on, we're doing this. Everyone give up their day jobs.
But like when, for example, did you think, right, I'm going to call myself This Is the Kit?
Well, it was when I needed a name to put on posters and when I was releasing like CDRs at gigs. I didn't want to have my own name. I wanted it to take whatever shape it took, whether that was like songs or not songs, or you know, interpretive dance or like puppetry. You know, it was just a sort of project for me to do whatever I wanted to.
Okay. And so, do you think after that it kind of solidified a little bit?
Kind of. I mean, it definitely just was songs.
Right.
But I didn't want to be like. I mean, I don't know why. Why do I mind the phrase singer-songwriter? I don't mind it so much now, but at the time, I didn't want that to be what people called me.
It's got so much baggage attached to it.
Maybe, but then maybe that's just me believing in the baggage. If I ignored the baggage, maybe it's not an issue. But yeah, I didn't want to be a person. I wanted it to be a band if it needed to be, and not a band if it didn't need to be. And I wanted it to not be my name. But it is partly my name because for a fair chunk of my life I was called Kit.
Then you went to Bristol, is that right?
Yeah, I did. I wonder if even an earlier turning point, or as early, was like the Westgate School GCSE Arts evening.
Do you know what? I bet that is very true. You played a song.
I played a song, and it was the first time I'd ever performed in public, and it was the first time, I was sort of 15 or 16, I guess, because it was GCSEs. It was the first time my parents and my family had ever heard me sing. Other than when I was like 3 or whatever. And people were really nice about it. And Mr. Sprosen said some really lovely things about it.
Mr. what?
Mr. Sprosen.
Nice name.
As did Mr. Eves. Mr. Eves was the music teacher and he was brilliant. And Mr. Sprosen was a physics teacher and he also was brilliant. And I feel like that had a little bit of a switch flicking effect. Like it was so terrifying that like the adrenaline afterwards probably just set me, like that was it then, probably I was just gonna have to do more gigs. Partly because it was enjoyable when you master it, and partly because there's so much to learn to master it. There's so much I I could have done this better, I could have done that better. And every gig is like that, basically, isn't it? You just like, okay, bit of improvement to do.
Right.
So I feel like that was quite a significant, switch.
And before that, had you had ambitions before that in your
Well,
life?
I'd always liked singing and playing. I mean, I feel like it's only recently that I've let myself say out loud that I want to be doing this as my job. I mean, I was always too sort of superstitious or shy to sort of say, oh, I'd love to do music as my main activity. But it was always something that I thought, oh, it'd be great if I could do that.
The first song I heard of yours was Spinny.
Oh, yes.
Which was on a wonderful newsletter that got emailed out by this American guy who he's a photographer, and he just put 6 tracks together that he really liked and emailed them out every month. I think we were putting together a in between Support Band and Us mixtape.
Yeah.
Okay. And I just heard Spinny and I was like, who is this? You know, it was really strange and I now tried to find out some information, but at that point,
Was there nothing to find?
It didn't exist.
Yeah, it was weird because it mentioned right off the bat. It mentioned that you were partly based in Paris.
Yeah, which is true. It actually came out in 2010, but it was on a tiny little label that kind of was in the process of ceasing to exist at that time, so it was basically a self-release. So then it got re-released by Brassland in 2013 possibly, or whatever year it was.
So it was recorded that long ago.
Yeah. And that was quite a game changer for me, starting to work with Brassland. That changed the sort of trajectory or direction I was taking in a big way, I think.
Yeah. So sort of where are they based? Are they
in Brooklyn? Because I mean, I don't know if I'm answering the questions in the wrong order here, but basically we had
the wrong order.
There's no wrong order. But we had a little gig in a place called the Railroad Cafe in London. What road is it on?
Morning Lane.
Morning Lane.
Okay.
Doesn't exist anymore, but it was nice.
Yeah.
So we played a gig there, and the National were friends with my sister and our friend Matt, and they had a night off, and so they invited them to the gig. So a few members of the National came to that, and Aaron liked it, bought a copy of Wriggle Out the Restless, listened to it, liked it, and said, would you like to work together on the next album, and would you like Brassland to re-release this album properly and to release the next one that you make?
That's incredible.
So that
What a night's work.
was a nice.
Yeah.
So that, I think, was also a bit of a switch flicker. You know, the railroad points had a bit of a change.
Sure.
And
that's so cool.
So that...
And then he did produce the next album, didn't he?
And then
He produced
Brassland
Bashed Out.
re-released Wriggle Out the Restless, possibly in 2013.
Yeah.
And then Aaron produced Bashed Out,
Wow, okay. So, in a way, that would fit with my perception of it, because it seemed to sort of solidify after that from being something that I couldn't really find a whole lot of information about.
Yeah, I mean, basically it was just me and my partner Jessie doing gigs, selling CDs. Yeah, we both sort of did. It was basically us recording our mates. Like, we did the main bunch, the sort of spinal column of the recording with Rozi and our friends Francois and Amaury down in South France.
I actually really love that album. I like all of them, but I mean that's probably my favourite in the sort of emotional sense, if you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I was listening to it while we were recording in 2013. I like the sort of whole electric guitar thing, just on the edge of overdriven.
Yeah.
You know, so if you kind of give it, like that song Earthquake, right?
Yes.
That's just got these wonderful moments where you sort of strum out and it hits that sweet spot, you know.
Good.
So that's that's lovely.
I'm glad that it's a sweet spot.
Yeah. But it's also got a bit of percussion on that I love,
Yeah.
with the shaker that happens every so often. Yeah.
It's a
is
percussor,
it?
yeah.
Yeah, I sang that when I heard you on Sunday. I actually went while I was listening to it. I sounded like such a fanboy. And I was like,
It's great, it's great.
So, this is what normally happens. We normally talk and then I look at the questions and they all seem really redundant because we've asked. But, I mean, I've got number 2 is essentially, when did you think, okay, this is actually doable. This really could be a thing.
I think it was when I moved to France.
Yeah.
Because I stopped having any other jobs then. And I was just doing music. And I started working with our friend's record label that was called Microbe, and they were brilliant, and that was my first sort of experience of working with a label and releasing an album and getting gigs.
Did Microbe release
Incredible, yeah.
Right.
But at the same time, I always remember a few moments after saying I stopped having a job that also, at that, I didn't have a job, but we did have to sort of like Airbnb our flat out while we were living there. Like I wasn't sort of making enough money to live off.
Right.
But we were sort of patching it together, making it work. But officially my main professional activity was music from that point. I mean, to be honest, every moment and every gig is this, okay, this seems like we're doing this. So I feel like as a musician, quite a common feeling when talking to other people about it, you sort of swing between feeling like a fraud and that you're going to get found out to the other end of just like what is the other end actually? I don't know. But yeah, there's feeling like a fraud, like you're going to get found out.
Yeah.
And then there's feeling like you're doing a good job but no one's listening, and then there's like feeling like you're not, maybe that's the fraud again. Anyway, there's a few different things.
I think one of the ones at the other end is
yeah, help me out.
No, I know exactly. One of the ones I've had over the years several times is when you watch something good that you've done,
right,
particularly for some reason it's particularly watching a gig. Like we had it last year where we did this festival in Holland where we watched it afterwards, and the whole way through I was just thinking, oh my god, I don't think we're ever going to be that good again.
Yeah.
And the good news is I've had that feeling several times since like 2010 or something,
Okay,
and we're still
You're still
having those moments.
Okay, that is great. Yeah, that's a good moment to have. I feel like I don't get it with watching things, mainly because I think I don't watch things very often.
Yeah.
But when I do, I normally think, ooh, could have done that better.
Right.
Whereas with a gig where it's just like the feeling of the energy and what's just happened and whatever atmosphere that the gig is in. But after certain gigs, you kind of think, oh, well, that was really good, and we're probably not going to do another gig that well again.
Yeah.
But it's not from observation, it's just from like post-gig memory.
Yeah.
And who knows how accurate that is.
Right. Yeah, well, it's so many things influence.
And it's so largely to do with how great the audience is as well. Like if there's a nice atmosphere in the room, it feels like you played a good gig, even if you were just sort of not playing a good gig.
Did you guys used to busk at all?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Mainly when, personally, not much in the UK, but when we first moved to Paris, that was a little bit what we did. What about you, Rozi? Much busking? Did we ever busk together?
I remember a couple of times in Winchester, but I don't feel like I can sort of belt it. I mean, I know you don't have to belt it busking, but I didn't.
It's hard being loud enough.
When I used to busk, just say you were doing a song, it doesn't matter if it was your own or not, but you were just doing it and it was going really well, and so happens that loads of people stopped.
Yeah.
All right, and then you get to the end of it and you get a round of applause and you're like, right, I've got them now.
I've got to keep them.
What am I going to do now?
Yeah.
You know, so I get that feeling with us. You know, if we've had moments where we've done something good, like a certain single, say, has got some radio playing, we think, fuck, we've got to follow it up.
Yeah,
what do we do?
what you mean,
So
yeah.
I don't know if you have that.
I think my management has that. I think I'm too thoughtless and wafty to even bother thinking it.
It's a great way of putting it. Yeah.
I think I'm just like, oh, that was nice. What's for lunch? I don't know. Yes.
That's a great way.
It's hard to sort of get a sort of strategic mind behind it, because there's also just sort of so many factors of, like, you know, just sort of at a gig, a song goes down really well, that sort of, for whatever reason, or, you know, you get
It's a
things
whole
where, like,
fractal thing, isn't
suddenly you play in some place and everyone goes, ha ha, everyone like laughs at a lyric or something that has never happened before, or, you know, or there's some everyone sort of reacts in some way to something at some point that you maybe just once, and it's hard to know
if it'll happen again.
Yeah, or just, you know, sort of what it's hard, you can't, like, or I get, all you can sort of do is just sort of keep doing stuff that you're enjoying. You can't sort of second guess what will be the appropriate thing. I mean, you know, of course you can do a lot of elements of that, but, like,
I think mainly I can never tell if something's a good situation or if people are paying, if we've got anyone's attention anyway, other than at a gig when you're in front of people as human beings and you're sort of like, oh, they seem to be having a good time. I am too. But in terms of, like, you know, so often there's a musician or whatever, people come up to you and be like, oh, how are you doing? Wow, you're doing so well. It's going amazingly. And I just think nothing is different to when I was, like, sort of 10 years ago.
Well, that's interesting in itself.
It doesn't feel any different. I'm still doing gigs, and
but
I
do you not look at venue sizes and things?
I guess there's the venue sizes, but I feel like that's more to do with agents and promoters deciding stuff. You know, like, if they want to fill a venue, they can.
That's
you know what I mean?
We want to fill this venue. Who wants to play it?
We've got to fill the venue. Who wants to come and play for this audience? I don't know. I feel like it's such a mystery, dark arts. Not in an evil way, just in a sort of a mysterious way.
Yes. But I just briefly, I liked the fact on Radcliffe and Marconi the other day, which I heard, that you played a song from...
Oh, one of my songs from an earlier EP.
From an earlier EP?
Yeah.
Because it's not often that people do that, actually.
That was also
quite nice.
a fairly significant EP for me. Like, it was the first thing I ever released with a record label. It was the EP I released with Microbe before the album.
Right.
And it was the first time that Neil Smith ever did any guitar playing for This Is the Kit.
So where did you find him?
Oh, just Bristol. He was in a band, like, Jesse and Jamie were in his band, the Lift Men. And he's just a Bristol legend.
Right. Brilliant.
And so we met in Bristol.
He's got a lovely way with the guitar. I mean, that song showcases him quite well, actually, doesn't it?
Tangled Walker, the one? Yeah. Although, to be honest, half of it is me, and some of it might be Jesse. Maybe it's a third each. Okay. There's three of us going for it on the feedback.
Okay.
And so who knows who was doing what.
Right, okay. Fair enough.
But it was the first bit of Neil Smith we ever had.
Right, okay.
And it was Jesse on drums. It was just nice because Microbe had this studio in this sort of basement level of a multi-storey car park, and so we would go and record stuff there. And I just really remember me and Jesse. I played Jesse the song for the first time, and he recorded it, and then he put some drums on it, and then we built it up from there.
Right.
And it was a fun experience.
And it's a good introduction to your vocals as well, I think, that one.
Maybe, yeah, I don't know. I'm on the wrong side of the goldfish bowl for that, but
sure.
yeah.
I think it's because it's got that. I mean, I don't know how to really describe it, but you do certain things which seem to come from folk.
Yes.
But you've got a directness. Directness, is that the right word? A sort of maybe more chattiness.
Right.
Like when an example I'm thinking of is someday I'm going to find my way back to your mattress.
Yes.
Like you wouldn't, maybe it's your lyric writing actually more, because you wouldn't necessarily expect you to say mattress at that point.
Right, okay. Yeah.
So it's like...
I did not see that coming.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I know. But it's like you have certain bands which probably would think, we can't say mattress.
Yeah.
That's a bit prosaic.
I think it's my contrary nature of trying. I don't enjoy romanticising about certain words, certain situations, certain ideas, which is probably also hypocritical because I probably still do it on a lot of levels. But I would way rather not choose a poetic word if I've got a normal everyday word. But at the same time, you've got to be careful because sometimes it can become too forced and too much like, too much.
Yeah, I know.
There's a balance to be
You don't want the bubble to be burst.
I don't want to be just, Damon Albarning it up. Even though I think he's brilliant.
I know what you mean, though.
But,
he's
got
got a lot more poetic as he's got older,
It's no
hasn't he?
park life. But
Yeah. but like there's another song, Sleeping Bag.
Yes.
Which is like, I quite like love songs that do not follow the traditional love song rules sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that song is unquestionably a love song.
Yes, but not necessarily. I mean...
Oh, really? Not necessarily what one might think it's about?
Not necessarily... Actually, what am I talking about? It is a love song, yeah.
Right.
But I feel like sometimes, for me, it's not about, like, life partner love. But I think originally it probably was and still is on some levels, but the songs for me shift a little bit in terms of what they're about, because there's many things at once, so some of those things come to the forward and then some of them sit back a bit. But yeah. I think when people mean stuff, it is powerful. And sometimes it's easy, without realising, to just write a song that seems to work and fit into the formula, and you haven't realised that you don't mean it. And I think that's sort of sometimes apparent. But at the same time, everything I just said isn't true. So I don't know.
But you romanticise other things as well, don't you? Like
totally.
Sea.
I mean, I don't know if I romanticise it, I just honk on about it because I'm always thinking about it. So, but then maybe that's what romanticising is, but...
Why the sea so much?
Oh, well...
Is it just because
it would be such a disaster if you couldn't go there.
Right, yeah. But you don't live in a place where there is sea?
No, maybe that's why I write about it so much.
Okay.
It's true. I mean, it's unintentional. I should pay a bit more attention to what I write about, because very often I'll like sort of stand back and look at what I've written. I'm like, same. So that's an area where I could
I think you got away from the sea on Moonshine Freeze though, slightly.
Maybe, yeah.
I think that was a sort of...
It's true. There's times in one's life when different themes crop up and down again.
I thought that Moonshine Freeze is a bit more mathematical. Like you're talking about kind of cycles of 3 and bits and there's other examples of that as well. Syncopate, the rhythms are more mathematical.
Yeah. The math rock album.
Exactly. So maybe we should talk just briefly about recording, maybe the actual making of the record, which is like in number 4, which has anything in your approach to recording changed, and was there a moment where you kind of thought, well, we're going to do this differently now, and oh my god, that's amazing, we'll do it like that from now on, kind of thing?
Well, one thing that I learned from Bashed Out was I always want to have the songs written before I start making the album, which sounds really stupid. But it wasn't the case with Bashed Out because of like scheduling reasons, just people's availability, and it nearly killed me.
Oh god, yeah.
So that's the only thing. Other than having the songs written, I think I'd like it to be different every time, but there's going to be unavoidable things that are the same. Yeah. That I don't know about. I don't know how different the next one will be.
Right. And when you say different, do you mean like where you do it? And who's producing it?
Who's producing it? Where you do it?
Yeah.
How you record everyone? Like for the first one, most of it was recorded at Microbe, but some of it wasn't.
Is that a studio as well?
Yeah, exactly. They had their own studios.
In Paris?
In Paris. And then for the second one, we started it in a friend's, home studio in France, but then just went everywhere. Then Bashed Out was all mainly recorded in Aaron's studio in Brooklyn. Okay. But with a lot of his favourite musicians playing stuff. Then Moonshine Freeze was the touring band that's been together for however many years, all being in the same place at the same time, recording it for 2 weeks.
And that was Bristol, right?
Yeah, and there's there's the doing it in one big chunk, there's the doing it in little portions, there's doing it in 2 medium portions.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah, just mixing it up. Yeah.
It'll always be different because life's always different.
And do you have a thing where you think it sounds a little bit like the place where you recorded it?
For me it does, because it just takes you back there.
It's difficult to separate, isn't it?
Separate the sound from the memory.
Yeah.
But tell me the question exactly again.
Well, I mean, it's hard, isn't it? Because
does it sound like the place?
You're thinking of this as a listener and also as a music maker. So there's certain music, like for example, field music. To me, doesn't sound like anywhere.
Yeah.
Sophie Hunger just it sounds like Switzerland, and I don't mean cuckoo clocks and mountains, I mean apartment blocks on the edge of a sort of Germanic city, you know. Whereas yours, I don't know whether this, because of what I know about you, but I always think of Bristol and the Bristol Channel.
Yeah.
And just the idea of you being in Bristol and then kind of going to the seaside there and then going back.
Specifically Moonshine Freeze or other albums as well?
Other albums as well.
Yeah. I think it's true. I think Bristol is in there. But
I don't hear Paris, I've got to say.
Yeah.
Weirdly.
I mean, Paris is a funny place to pick up the sound of.
Same with London.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Maybe the bigger the city, the more... the less that happens or something.
Definitely, I think so.
Or maybe it's also just, it depends on where you were at a particularly absorbent formative time, because Bristol, I think, shaped me in so many ways, musically and just sort of personally.
I was going to ask you about the sound. Funnily enough, I heard... I listened to Bashed Out back at the time, but I heard it quite a lot in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And then completely coincidentally, I think it's because Frightened Rabbit, do you know Frightened Rabbit?
I don't think I do.
Okay, so their singer, tragically, he died a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And they put together a tribute album with lots of other people singing their songs.
Nice.
Yeah, and I heard one on the radio the other day and it sounded absolutely brilliant. So I thought, well, I should check out Frightened Rabbit.
Yeah.
And one of their most recent album, I was listening to it, and then I was listening to Bashed Out at the same time. And it was one of those moments where I thought, these two sound a little bit similar.
I know who you mean.
Right.
I know who you mean by Frightened Rabbit now.
Okay.
And yes, Aaron worked with him.
He produced the same album,
Yeah, exactly.
So, and it's got that kind of slightly expansive sound to it.
And I think a word that he used once, which I always remember and think is appropriate to what he does, is sort of glacial.
Oh, yeah. Does he produce the national albums too?
He has a big part in it, but but it's always quite a team effort.
Team effort,
but I feel like if there's anyone that might be, especially on the case production-wise, it's definitely Aaron. Yeah,
Okay,
he's really he loves it. He's got ears and uses them.
Right. Okay. Because it's Lush is another thing I wrote down. It sounds sort of quite... Whereas Moonshine Freeze sounds much more tight and John Parrish-y.
Yeah, and it's kind of almost... A lot of the stuff or a lot of the main stuff was recorded live. Like we went to a studio that we knew we'd be able to play live in if we needed to all at the same time. Yeah. So although that didn't happen on every track, it did happen on some of the tracks. And I really enjoyed that.
Okay. Yeah, and was it in this is Moonshine Freeze, was it in a sort of studio?
Yeah, it was Invader Studios, which is out the back of the record label.
Okay.
So again, another record label that has a studio.
Right. Okay.
But and it was really great there.
Yeah. Because I don't know about you, but I love being in a studio. Yeah. Like obviously you get used to recording in people's attics and bedrooms and so forth, but there's nothing like a kick-ass studio when you kind of get in there and you think, oh yeah, this is.
It's
great.
nice when there's like fun bits around to use.
Yeah.
And nice microphones, but I think for me it's more just settling into the space where you're going to make this thing, whether it's someone's front room or attic or studio. You just sort of make it home for a while, and I think I really like that.
And making the home of the person you're doing it with as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So was John Parrish, was he good to do a record with?
Just totally brilliant.
Really? Yeah.
And he'd produced Cruellable, the first album, 10 years previously.
Oh, yeah.
So it was nice to have like this 10-year cycle of coming back and working together. And the engineer who engineered the first album, called Marco Tagliola, also engineered Moonshine Freeze. So it was a really nice sort of reunion time. Nice. And it was brilliant because they're both just so great to work with.
Yeah. I love it, and I love his other stuff as well.
He just knows his craft. He just knows his craft. He's really good at dealing with people, because I think as a producer, that is a big part of your craft. Yeah, is communication and energy, and he's excellent at that, and he's excellent at sounds and just and knowing when it's good and when you need to keep working at. Yeah. Also, he's really good at drums. I mean, it's his first instrument, and he's really good at finding lovely patterns and like trimming down patterns so that they're just what they need instead of being over the top, and just lovely solid grooves. He's great. I think it was him that found the Moonshine Freeze drum pattern and
amazing shaker player.
Oh, really good.
Really? Okay.
His shaker playing is second to none.
Cool.
Yeah.
There was something that we talked about earlier on when we talked about the game changers, which was the idea that it can be a game changer within your own band, but also if you manage to also influence other people as well. So if you do something really different and then you kind of think...
You invent Uber.
Yes. Or just sort of... Yeah. Because influences of your own, they are not...
stuff that influences me.
Some stuff that influences you is not blatant in your music, I don't think, which is good.
Sometimes I feel like other people probably are better at joining the dots up than I am, because I know what I listen to.
Sure. I have very little idea of what you... It's really bizarre. I mean, it's good in a way.
Yeah. For me, nothing is conscious, I don't think. I'm like, oh yes, I did spend that year listening to Hugh Tracy field recordings, and
Right.
there it is, and the whatever.
Do you think that the stuff that you listen to is mostly more left field than what you do?
I think it's a mixture of much more left field than what I do and much more right field than what I do.
Okay, yeah. So what would be an example of the right field?
Well, Beyonce, and then just stuff that my daughter's introduced me to, like Stromae, just a brilliant Belgian artist.
Okay, yeah.
He was just like mega super pop star. So
that's
right
amazing
field.
being introduced to things via your child. I don't think my daughter's introduced me to any actual music, but
Yeah, well, I guess because it depends what they pick up on at school, isn't
True,
it? If they
yeah.
go to school, I guess.
of course, yeah.
And because we live in France and she goes to school in France,
Yeah.
there's a whole ecosystem of pop music that
Yeah.
I have no exposure to, but she does, and then
Right.
she can sort of introduce it to me. And then she'll go to her like hip-hop dance class and like come home and find what track it is, and then we'll find out about it from that.
Yeah. There was the Taylor Swift album 1989 though, which she got, and we listened to that for an entire holiday.
Great.
And I don't know if you know that album.
No, I
but
do not know any
it's
Taylor Swift.
Fabulous.
Great.
It really is, and it's not. If you take away the lyrical content and make it a bit more indie-ish,
Yeah.
it could be an album by,
Anyone.
It could be like I'm trying to think of an artist who could have made it, like Self-Esteem. Do you know
Yes,
Self-Esteem? Yeah, it could be a Self-Esteem album.
It is interesting, isn't it? Just the context we put things in,
Yeah.
or the sort of ear goggles we listen to things through, is just as valid and carefully
Yeah.
crafted, arguably. It's just that we see it in a different light.
Live mostly alone. 6 heads had it grown, and 6 haircuts show back and sides of its own. Arms and legs all for sure. 4 times 6 makes 24. His footsteps on the floor, hear him roar. Six pairs of 2 shoelaces, elbows, boots. 6 pairs of 2 new shoes.
Has anything happened that you might describe as a game changer, which changed things in a negative way?
Well, there's always the eternal balance of things, isn't there? So often when you gain a thing, you lose a thing. So I feel like it shouldn't necessarily be seen of as negative, because there's always positive stuff that's happened as well. But I feel like I feel so lucky to have such a great booking agent who does an incredible job and knows his job really well. And because of him, we play bigger gigs and nice gigs, and that's really great. And West Holds, all this stuff.
Sure.
But the unfortunate result of that is that all of the smaller, independent DIY, totally dedicated, totally generous and self-sacrificing promoters that we used to work with and that used to book us and used to lose loads of money on us, we can no longer really go and do gigs with them.
Yeah.
And so that, I feel like, is a shame.
Sure.
That the industry is that shape, and it would be nice if there was a way around it. One little loophole, which is quite nice, is independent music venue week. When if I'm on the ball, I can revisit as many of the super duper independent venues and promoters as possible that we used to work with in the space of a week.
Yeah, okay.
And to the point also where, like, if I'm at home in France and a friend's passing through playing a gig, or a friend who lives in Paris is playing a gig, I'm not supposed to play with them as This Is the Kit. Like, I have to get permission or just do it under a different name or something.
Right.
Which I understand, because the French agent wants to be able to book a venue that's sustainable for who I'm paying, the band and everything. But it's you know, that's just this little slight negative thing, is that I have to negotiate that.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's really not the end of the world.
Right. No. And it's expected as well, I suppose. It's not.
By who?
Probably these people who you're talking about.
Yeah, just
they've
people,
experienced it with other bands as well.
Then we get into the realms of what is a sustainable model.
Yeah.
Like, growth is not the answer, I think.
Yes,
there's not enough
exponential increases.
You can't just grow and grow and grow. Like, we've got to get over this capitalism hang up and find something a little bit more sustainable. And even down to things like, I just feel so grateful to have a supportive record label and you know, whatever. But it means I have to sign things that come from on high, from whoever owns them or whatever. There's just like more admin to negotiate. And when you want to, for example, make some music with someone, you've signed a record, there's clauses to do with what you record and who you record with and who gets what percentage. And that is sometimes the difference between you being able to make music with someone and not make music with someone. And that is a shame, because there should never be a barrier between making music and not making music with whoever you want to. And I think that's a real shame. And maybe there's a way. I mean, can I just be an anonymous band member? There's things like, I'd love it if I could, because then I could make the music with them, but it's...
It happens in the film industry.
Yeah.
You can be like people...
What, you can be anonymous, you mean?
Yeah. I mean, we saw, for our sins, we went to see Yesterday at the weekend. Have you heard about Yesterday?
I think I've seen posters and thought to myself, oh, another film with a word like Yesterday.
It's the one about the guy, he's the only guy who can remember the Beatles.
Oh,
he wakes up, everyone else has forgotten, and he appropriates their songs. And anyway,
oh, that sounds so stressful.
It's not bad, but I won't give it away in case you do see it. But there's someone in it who he's a name actor, and he's completely absent from everything. So IMDb, not on it.
Yeah.
You know, no one knows he's in it, and it's great that they did this.
Maybe I can do that.
So there must be some kind of way of clausing it up to the eyeballs, so you can be you know, on it and not announced.
Different name, not announced or not known it. Yeah, that'd be good.
You should come up with a different moniker for yourself. You know. Yes. The one more kind of official question.
Yes.
The record that you're most proud of.
Well, and also questions like this change every time they get asked, don't they? But I'm going to say today, for this particular asking of this question, Wriggle Out the Restless, because we made it ourselves and produced it ourselves, and people like it. Some people like it.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's from a time when I feel like things.
Yeah, things.
I'm pleased, like, because I'd quite like to produce the next one myself. I think I'm thinking about that, and I like the fact that we just produced that one ourselves.
I think it's very well-rounded.
Thank you, Tim.
No, I know, and it's got great brass on it.
Yeah, most of the brass is just me playing out of tune trumpet.
Well, it's good. Do you know the band Typhoon?
No.
You should listen to the band from Portland. They've got about 100 members.
Great.
And there's some stories about them, but they've got great brass.
Excellent. I have to go and check it out.
Yeah, it's really, really good. And Spinny is one of those weird songs where I feel like that should be covered by someone. Like
well, it has been.
Has it? Oh.
Francois on the Atlas Mountains did a nice cover of it.
Oh, really?
Maybe on the piano, maybe there was a Hugh Tracy storytelling sample. Anyway, it's a nice version.
Wow, okay. Because there's a sort of rhythm in that makes it sound like it could be done by someone quite commercial.
Yes, it's true. It could be a bit of a four on the floor band.
Yeah, for sure. yeah. But yeah, it's really
we'll get
nice.
Mumford & Sons on the case.
It could be harmful itself, for sure. Which brings me on neatly to one of my comic questions, which is the level 42 question, which I've asked 2 people now, and I've got wildly different responses.
Okay, yeah, go for it. Will I know?
I don't know how much you know about level 42, but okay. So they were sort of, first of all, jazz funk band. Nothing. Okay, in the 80s.
Yeah.
Jazz funk band became pop band.
Okay, good.
But we're always a really good band. Anyway,
Yeah.
so in 1984, they sat down with each other and they said, all right, lads, we've had a couple of albums, nice touring career, everything's going fine.
Yeah.
But we need, and it was probably management saying this as well to them,
Yeah.
we need to write a couple of big hit singles.
Okay.
We need to do that. So they did, and they had hit singles, and it was all good. And
That's good that you can just decide that sort of thing.
well, this is it. So, and it did really well for them for the next 3 years, and then the wheels came off the bus, and largely because they got so big.
Oh, yes.
But anyway, forgetting about that, have you, or would you ever have the level 42 conversation with yourselves, as in?
Nah.
No?
I think my management might try tactfully to have the conversation,
Yeah.
but at this point in my life, I can't see any point in it, because if people don't want to listen to my music anymore, then I'll do something else, rather than go, no, please listen to it. Listen, I've got a hit single. I don't know. I don't think that's how my brain or my life or my relationship with what I do can work.
Yeah.
Not at the moment, anyway. Who knows what will happen in the future?
Sure. Yeah.
But nah.
The last thing, which is a bit of a daft question, but I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
If you had, and I'll ask both of you, if you had a magic wand,
Yes, I do have a magic wand.
awesome. Well, maybe
Keep going.
and you could change the country of your origin.
Yeah.
Would you do that? And where would you change it to?
Belgium.
Really?
Yeah.
Why Belgium?
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, how come? I mean,
I'd like to live there.
Really?
I don't know. Maybe I was being rash, because then you could start. Then you start thinking about it. You're like, sort of, ooh, Iceland's nice, and then
Yeah.
you think, oh, well, it'd be great to come from. I mean, there's every other country basically. I mean, that feels so
Okay.
negative
Right now, it feels
to say that about my own country, because this country is great. It's full of brilliant people.
Absolutely.
And it's got great history and great. It's got the NHS.
Yeah.
So that alone is a
BBC.
reason to just say no other country. I'd rather come from this country because it's got the NHS. But otherwise, yeah, a country where they speak a few different languages. No, wait a minute, what am I talking about? Wales. If it would mean that I'd be able to speak Welsh, then Wales.
What about you, Rosie?
Well, I mean, yeah, I do just really like going to Ireland. So if I was from Ireland, I'd get to go there. So
Yeah.
I'd be up for that. But I don't think I'd change it.
No, I'd find it difficult.
It would be nice to brush up on my political history, find out who's got the most respectable scorecard, and then be from there.
Yeah.
But it's all pretty dubious, isn't it? It's all
Totally.
pretty dodgy.
I know.
But so much positive, inspirational stuff has come out of probably every country, and we should remember that and celebrate it and use it as an example for the future, because we need it.
Cool. On that note, should we press stop?
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh no, we haven't been recording the whole thing.
Well, we're all good there. Yeah, we've got them back up. So,
Thanks, Tim.
no, thank you.
I just love chats.
Great. Well, thank you. It's been really, really nice.
Interrupted in front of guests. Tangled walker, you should see it was a mess. But he made quite a choir for sang low to
This is the Kit there. I hope you enjoyed listening to that. Thanks to Kate and Rozi for coming along and chatting. I'd also like to thank Siân Monaghan for her wonderful assistance on this podcast. Hope you enjoyed listening to it. I've put a link to a playlist of my favourite moments of This Is the Kit's career so far on the page. So I hope you enjoy listening to that as well. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you next time.